Well then, a quiet question. What is it you think is reincarnating this body with its weight and height, this mind with its storms and calms, this string of memories you carry like trinkets, or the bare sense of I that tries to sit in the throne? When you say I, where is it? Point to it. Now where? Here, here, or here? No, no, not the flesh, not the history, not the personality. That which is born and dies, that which boasts and fears, that which counts years and collects opinions. Do you suppose life itself could ever be confined there? Hear the paradox plainly. You will never end the cycle by perfecting the person. No matter how saintly the mask, no matter how refined the habits, you end the cycle by discovering the self that was never born and can never die. Before Abraham was I am, not the little I of personal story, but the I that is presence, that is life, that is God expressing. I and my Father are one. When the I that seeks advantage yields to the I that is one, the wheel stops because there is no axle left to turn it. Right now, I am not speaking to your years, nor to your schooling, nor to the tales of other centuries that some whisper about. We are not engaging in a tour of former rooms. We are not polishing the mirror of imagination to see who you were in Egypt or Rome. No, not a bit. The promise here is not speculation about past lives. The promise is practical liberation in this lifetime through realized identity in God. Be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, something more than memory appears. Something more than intention breathes. Life announces itself, and that life is your life. If you ask how to end reincarnation, do not ask, how shall I arrange a better life next time? Ask, rather, what is life now? For it is written, in him we live and move and have our being. Do you see? If life is God and God is indivisible, then you have no separate life to preserve, improve, or carry over. The only continuity that is real is God's own being, forever expressing as the infinite varieties of his grace. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. When that is knowingly lived, what revolving door can catch you? I must set the hedge at once for your safety. No occultism, no psychic curiosity, no manipulation. Don't ever tamper with a cosmic law as if it were a toy. It is a double-edged sword. You cannot use spirit to get, to control, to bind. If you try, you only deepen the hypnosis of personal sense and extend the cycle. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That includes the God of personal desire, the God of esoteric sensation, the God of spiritual ambition. I hope you will never try to do it. I never give human advice, nor do I project thought or force. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument, absent from the body, and to be present with the Lord. Here is the key that turns the lock. Not a departure from the body as location, for you cannot leave what you were never in, but a departure from believing the body is I, in quiet surrender, in ethical obedience to the two commandments, one God, and love thy neighbor as thyself. The personal claimant softens, and life appears as itself. This is not poetry, it is law. As you sow to personal sense, you reap its wheel. As you sow to spirit, you reap freedom. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it without bargaining. Say it until the mind stops reaching and the heart grows still. In that stillness, the ancient axle breaks. In that sufficiency, the story loses its compulsion. And life one, undivided, present, remains. Well then, what is this cycle we speak of with so much dread and curiosity? Not a mysterious shuttling of matter through centuries, not a soul crammed into a new costume and sent back on stage by some cosmic manager. No, the cycle is this: the repetition of personal sense insisting, I am a body, I am this mind, I am this story, and then believing that to be life. It runs its necessary course: fear of loss, desire for gain, pursuit of achievement, a taste of triumph, the ache of disappointment, and because the claimant is still the same self-asserting me, it craves another chance to complete an incomplete fantasy. That is the wheel. That is the turning. He that seeketh to save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. Do you hear? The personal life you try to save has to run again until the personal claimant yields. When you say, I, where is it? Show me. Is it here in the head, in this chest, a nerve, a brain? Is it in the hand that moves or in the eye that looks? Now where am I, here or here? No, no. If a surgeon were to open this body, he would find organs, fluids, structure. He would not find a me. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. The flesh profiteth nothing. The belief that I is in the flesh is the beginning of the wheel. It is the axle. The moment you identify life with form, you have introduced fear. A form can be harmed. You have introduced desire. A form feels lack. You have introduced rivalry. A form must secure its place. And then, of course, you have introduced time. The form starts and ends. Do you see how that one premise multiplies its effects? Many write and say, I have moved to a new city and the same bills chase me. Or, I have married a different partner but the same quarrels rise. Or, I changed careers, yet the old insecurity sits in the new chair. New scenes, same actor. New costumes, same lines. The continuity is not the environment. The continuity is the personal sense, claiming life for itself and carrying its pattern into each fresh situation like a stamp pressing wax. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow the seed of me in the body and reap the crop of fear, grasping, and cyclical disappointment. And if the harvest tastes incomplete, the same sower returns to the field for another season, another go, another episode of I will be fulfilled when, and the sentence never finishes. Very often the fascination with reincarnation is the ego's last clever bulwark. It wants importance. I must have been someone great. It wants explanation. My failures come from a curse long ago. It wants power. If I can remember, I can control what comes. Beware. I hope you will never try to dress personal sense in spiritual garments. You cannot make a God out of memory, out of imagination, out of yesterday or tomorrow. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When the interest in past or future lives is a quest for personal advantage, the wheel is greased, not stilled. Let us keep our diagnosis clean. The cycle is not a divine decree. It is a hypnotic repetition, a self-portrait sketched again and again because the artist believes the sketch is himself. The script reads, I am this mind, I am this body, I am this lack, I am this pride, and so the scenes must play. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth. Not because earth is evil, but because the above is the real, and only the real is continuous. The life is more than meat, and the body more than raiment. The moment the eye is unhooked from form, the script begins to burn itself out for lack of an actor. Therefore, the bridge is plain. If the cycle is personal sense repeating, its end is not a personal improvement, not a brighter costume, not a cleverer storyline. Its end is impersonal, life realized as the only life there is. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that realization, the actor dissolves, the stage lights dim, and yet life remains whole, present, undivided. We do not add divinity to a person. We witness that God is the life of all, and therefore we rest from the compulsion to repeat, I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me, absent from the body, present with the Lord. And there the axle loosens, there the wheel begins to stop. Now the simple, stark statement, I am not in the physical. I am not in the physical. Do not hurry past those words. Let them question the whole premise that has kept the axle greased. When I say I, where will you localize that? In the head? In the chest? In a nerve or a synapse? Now, where am I? Here or here? No, no. If a surgeon were to open this body, he could catalog organs, fluids, structures. He would not find a me. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. You cannot be confined where you have never been contained. Here is the protective truth. You do not leave a body at death because you were never in it to begin with, for ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. The only departure that ever occurs is the fading of a belief, the belief that the I is a tenant in a house of clay. When the belief loosens, awareness is where it has always been, as it has always been, unconfined, unbounded. Neither shall they say, lo here or lo there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Not within a rib cage, but within consciousness. As consciousness, as that which is before location, before form, before history. Take the body out of thought for a moment and test. Close the eyes if you wish, remove the hands from the drama of doing, and simply refuse to hunt for yourself in the body. Notice, breath continues, sensation passes, sounds appear and disappear, and yet there is something unmoved that knows them all. Awareness remains. Being remains. The bare I am stands without needing a place to stand. That is not a cult. It is plain. It is like switching off the machinery in a factory long enough to discover the power was never in the gears but in the invisible current. Be still and know that I am God. In that stillness, the me in a body premise thins, and presence, not person, abides. Freedom begins here because fear begins in the opposite place. If you believe life is housed in form, then every threat to form becomes a threat to life, and the mind invents cycles to rescue what it imagines it might lose. That is reincarnation as fear. The anxious arithmetic of getting another chance to preserve, improve, complete a fragile identity, remove the premise life in the form, and the sums change. O death, where is thy sting? O grave, where is thy victory? When the body is no longer the address of I, the urge to return to fix an address fades. The wheel does not have an axle to grasp. Understand this. I am not advocating indifference to the body. I am pointing out non-local identity so that love can cease being fear. The body may be tended as a garden is tended, wisely, gently, without superstition, without worship. But you are not in the garden. You are not a plant to be uprooted and replanted again and again, searching for better soil. In Him we live and move and have our being. When life is recognized as God, not form, continuity is seen to be spiritual, not historical. And so the work clarifies. If the true I is not in matter, then the practice is not the migration of a self, but the recognition of self-conscious oneness with God. I and my Father are one, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Say it not as a hope for a future event, but as a fact of being now. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that recognition, fear recedes, the story loosens, and life, which has never rotated on a wheel, shines as what you are. What then continues? Not your scrapbook of memories, not the parade of faces you have worn, not the ledger of wins and losses. What continues is life, and life is God. Before Abraham was, I am. I and my Father are one. These are not sectarian boasts. They are the universal language of reality announcing itself. The self that is of God does not begin and cannot end, and therefore the only real continuity you will ever know is God life realized as your very being now, here, without story, without boast. This is the governing premise of our work, and it is not a slogan. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Hear that again and refuse to make a magic charm of it. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. It is not a doctrine to adopt. It is a state to be yielded to, a silence to be entered, a willingness to let the personal claimant fall quiet until, at some unplanned moment, the inner confirmation, the click comes. Then it is no longer I believe. It is I am, not I as person, I as presence, I as the life that is God being itself. You may say, I have often repeated, I and my Father are one, and yet the old worries return. Yes, because words are not realization, and belief is not being. You can recite a multiplication table and still not balance your accounts if you refuse to apply the principle. Likewise, you can repeat Scripture and remain bound if the personal will is still trying to use God to confirm its plans. Absent from the body and to be present with the Lord is not a travel plan, it is a shift of identity. You come present to the Lord the instant you stop claiming a separate self in a separate place. Then a strange and holy simplicity dawns. I am not in the physical, I am in God. Better still, God is the I. Do not think this removes you from the world. It reveals the world in God. A letter came once describing relief that arrived at an hour I was said to be praying. I did not project a thought I would not dare, but I can tell you what was true. When consciousness yields into that oneness, harmony appears without human pushing, because only one is present to act. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. In my oneness with God, I find safety. In my oneness with God, I find peace, supply, and right companionship not attained, but revealed as already the fact of being. This is why personal memory has no power to save you. You could recall 10,000 yesterdays and be no nearer to life. Memory preserves pictures, realization unveils presence. Memory says, I was. Realization knows, I am that I am. Memory keeps the wheel turning by insisting on a private thread. Realization rests the thread in the seamless robe of one life. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. The personal claimant dies, life remains, and there is your continuity. God unbroken, God expressing, God appearing as the ideas and activities of your day without a separate you to manage them. How then shall we live this and not merely admire it by rehearsal of silence, not of sentences, by receptivity without bargaining? We will not ask God to endorse our designs. We will sit until desire thins and the heart consents to be nothing so God may be all. We will become absent from the body, not by flight, but by refusing to localize the I and present with the Lord by simple yieldedness. We will wait, not idly, but awake, until the click comes, and with it the effortless assurance, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thus begins true continuity. God life lived as the only life there is, and thus the wheel, starved of its separate axle, forgets how to turn. Now let us make this so practical that you cannot mistake it for mystery or ritual. It will be a chair low enough that the feet find the floor without strain, a back supported so the spine need not hold a parade, a seat where you can forget posture because comfort will do the remembering. Rest the hands lightly on the lap as well. Never tense the arms, keep them without ambition, close the eyes. There is no occult reason for any of this, only one of physical comfort, so the body may drop out of the foreground of attention. In this position, become virtually unaware of having a body, not by fleeing the body, not by hating it, by not localizing yourself in it. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Now, what to do inwardly? Nothing to get, nothing to see, nothing to hear, desireless receptivity, no reaching for visions, no seeking messages, no bargaining with God, no, if thou wilt, then I will. Let that go. It is the personal actor negotiating for a larger role. We are not here to move spirit, we are here to be still until spirit moves as itself. Be still and know that I am God. Let knowing replace pleading. If a word is needed to set the rudder, let it be this: Father, reveal thyself, live thou my life. Or if you wish, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. Then let the hearing be silence. No mantras churn for effect. No mental pushing. Wait in the state of receptivity. The mind will try to work. Let it yawn itself to sleep. The body will whisper for attention. Acknowledge and let it pass. Thoughts will come dressed as urgency. Love them by not following. We are not building a tower to heaven. We are getting out of the way of a door that is already open. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Knock and wait. Presently, and there is no timing rule to this, something unfussy occurs. The breath seems to take itself. The inner reach slackens. A quiet authority, not from thought, not from emotion, not from any word, settles. That is the click. It is not fireworks, it is a cessation. It is not excitement, it is assurance. It does not make you feel big. It makes you forget to feel big or small. In that instant, you do not have to repeat, I and my Father are one. You are the fact of it without sentence. It might last a minute. It might be a passing brush as gentle as a hand on the shoulder. Do not try to hold it. Do not try to reproduce it. Let it have you and let it go on being what it is, with or without your notice. When the click comes, the personal actor has yielded. You will know, because the itch to manage fades, compulsion softens. The question, what shall I do, loosens its teeth, and a different motion appears of itself. Not a plan, but a flow. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. From that oneness, decisions are quieter, timing riper, speech simpler, and often nothing is required but a smile and a patience that is not yours. If there is to be healing, it will be God's being revealing. If there is to be guidance, it will be God's moving as idea. You will not project thought. I hope you will never try to do it. Non-interference is protection, for there can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. How long should you sit? Long enough for the reach to relax. Some mornings it is a breath, some evenings it is a half hour. Do not force results, do not resent their absence. Sit again in an hour if necessary, or tomorrow at dawn. The river does not run because you stare at it. It runs because it is its nature to run. Your task is consent. Return often enough that the habit of reaching gives way to the habit of rest. Return until the silence begins to find you before you sit. And when you rise, rise inside the same hush. Wash a dish in it. Answer a letter from within it. Walk into a difficult interview and let it precede you. This is not a meditation you visit. It is a presence you abide. In him we live and move and have our being. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. If in the midst of the day you feel the old actor taking up his lines, stop 30 seconds. 2 minutes, Father, reveal thyself. Live thou my life. Wait for the click, or for the hint of it, or for nothing at all. Wait until the will bows, then proceed. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it without bargaining. Say it until the saying becomes silence, and the silence becomes life acting as you. Here the wheel forgets its motive, because here there is no separate mover, only one. Now a hedge must be set for your safety, and I set it with love and with firmness. Do not tamper with a cosmic law for any selfish purpose. Don't ever try to make spirit serve a plan, a demonstration of power, or a curiosity. It is a double-edged sword. The very attempt to use the law as a tool to get, to impress, to control, turns the edge back upon the user, not because God punishes, but because principle is impersonal and exact. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow to personal sense, and you reap more personal sense, the wheel spins on. Here is the trap laid so attractively that even earnest seekers step into it. Psychic investigation, occult sensation, fixation on past lives, messages and memories that promise to explain why things are as they are. What do these feed? The very claimant that must dissolve. The personal me is so subtle it will wear a robe and lift a scripture and still mean to have its own way. It says, if I can recover my histories, I can secure my destiny. It says, if I can see behind the veil, I can steer what comes next. No, no. The longing to control outcomes is the idolatry of a separate self. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When personal will adopts the forms of spirituality, the hypnosis grows stronger because its cleverness has increased. You have not found life. You have dressed the old actor in a new costume. Do not think principle will bend for a favored few. It is like mathematics. You may be a poet, a merchant, a saint. 2 times 2 is 4 for all. Violate it, and no angel will hold your bridge in place. Build a house without respect for load and foundation, and the good intentions of the builder will not keep the beams from sagging. It is the same with a traffic law. If you race a red light, it is not the policeman who causes the crash. Cosmic law is not a personality. It is truth operating as itself. There can be no selfish purpose in the cosmic law. The moment you try to bend it to a private end, you place yourself outside of its harmony and feel the discord of your own misalignment. I say this protectively. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts. I never give human advice. I do not project thoughts across distances. I hope you will never try to do it. Letters may arrive telling of relief that came while I was in prayer, but I assure you, I did not send a current, I did not manipulate a field, I did not imagine a chord. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. When the click of oneness comes, harmony appears, not by my volition, not by your will, but by the nature of one acting as one, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. The desire to astonish a neighbor, to secure a fortune, to pick next week's fruit from tomorrow's tree, this is might and power. It is the arm of flesh, and the flesh profiteth nothing. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, never taken by cleverness, never seized by technique. The moment the appetite for spiritual spectacle quiets, the moment the itch to get gives way to the willingness to be, a sweet order returns. The same law that could cut when misused becomes the river of peace when not used at all, only consented to. So here is your protection and your path. Surrender, not manipulation. Instrumentality, not authorship. Live inside the prayer. Live thou my life. Let the Father within do the works. Refuse the bait of secret powers and special memories. Stand in the only commandment that ends the competition of selves, one God, and the only conduct that reveals it, love thy neighbor as thyself. Then the fascination with control thins. The personal claimant loosens. The cycle loses fuel. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it without bargaining. Rest there until the will bows and the law unattended keeps its own perfect order. Hear this as law, not as motto. There are not many powers, there is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The moment you fear a second power, you have broken the commandment. Fear of disease is a god. Hatred of a neighbor is a god. Worship of money is a god. Anxiety about headlines is a god. No, no. One power only, and it is invisible, indivisible, universal. Cosmic law is impersonal. It plays no favorites. It answers to no personality. It is as exact as mathematics. 2 times 2 is 4, whether you whisper it or shout it, whether you like it or resist it, violate it, and you do not anger arithmetic. You suffer the consequence of unreality pressing against reality. So too with spirit. As you sow, so shall ye reap is not punishment. It is the nature of consciousness reproducing itself. If you sow separation, you reap a separated world. If you scatter thoughts of rivalry, envy, and condemnation, you harvest a field of your own isolation, lonely even in a crowd, afraid even in a fortress. With what measure ye meet, it shall be measured to you again. This is not a threat, it is a description. Consciousness pours itself into form. What you behold as out there mirrors what you acknowledge as power in here. The cycle we have named repetition of personal sense feeds on this measuring and meeting. It must, because the personal claimant lives by comparison. Me against you, ours against theirs, my survival at your expense. That thought sows injury and must reap return engagements. The wheel turns because the creed of Oneness turns it. Now the antidote is simple and absolute, 2 commandments only, not a library of rules. One God, love thy neighbor as thyself, not sentiment. Not benevolence with an ego tip, alignment. Love because there is one self appearing as many, one life in multifarious form. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, ye have done it unto me. When you love the neighbor, you are not accruing spiritual credit. You are recognizing your own life there and refusing to fracture it. When you condemn the neighbor, you sharpen the blade that cuts you, because you have declared a second life, a second mind, a second power, double-edged sword. Do you see the peril, and do you feel the safety of obedience? Let us make this unromantic and exact. Hostility sows hostility. It returns because consciousness must meet its own face. Exploitation sows lack. It returns because you have affirmed a universe of taking, and you must live with the climate you declare. Envy sows insufficiency. You will feel poor in a palace if you have certified that someone else's good diminishes yours. This is why the law of love is protection. When I want nothing you have, and you want nothing that I have, then there is no possibility of a war. Love levels the gradients of fear. It unarms the reflex to defend and attack. It says, one power only, one life only. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore, I cannot injure you without injuring my awareness of God, and I cannot bless you without finding the same blessing sitting quietly in my own lap. The effect is immediate, not theatrical. In the office, the tongue remembers to stay out of another's reputation. In the marketplace, a price is set that does not ask the widow to pay with her breath. In the home, the old scorecard is burned without ceremony. Judge not, that ye be not judged. The judging voice is the axle of the wheel. Remove it, and the cycle forgets its power to rotate. Try it today. Bless the one who competes with you. Watch the inner weather change. Refuse the thrill of scandal. Feel the atmosphere. Clarify. Give where you cannot be thanked. Observe what happens to fear. You are not buying divine favor. You are aligning with reality. You are obeying. One, this is ethics as liberation. One God severs the illusion of many powers. Love thy neighbor dissolves me versus you, which is the very chemistry of reincarnating personal sense. As separation thins, repetition weakens, because there is no longer a private self to defend or improve across lifetimes. We are approaching the beautiful confession, I am merely the instrument, God is the actor. But even before we say it, we live it. We stop using others. We stop fearing others. We see through others to the one life being itself. And in that seeing, we begin to live as what we are. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, sufficient to love without bargaining, to stand without second gods, to walk this day as one life lived. Now hear the pivot of the whole way, and let it be confessed, not glibly, but as breath itself. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. Say it softly. Say it until the strain in the chest melts. Say it until the mind that loved to plan forgets its pencils. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Not my will, but thine be done. This is not abdication. This is the end of pretending to be the author of a book already written in spirit. The personal self tries to achieve salvation. The realized self lets salvation be revealed. The first acts plans and calls them faith. The second becomes still and finds the river running of itself. When I speak of surrender, do not picture a weakling laying down tools before a tyrant. No, no. This is the child resting in the Father's house, the Father that dwelleth in me. He doeth the works. The arm of flesh wants to make, manage, manipulate. It wants to arrange even God's arrival. It says, if I think hard enough, envision vividly enough, confess loudly enough, I can bring heaven to heel. Who by taking thought can add 1 cubit unto his stature. Thought is not the actor. Spirit is. Our part is not command. Our part is consent. Live thou my life. Fulfill thyself in me. Non-interference follows as naturally as breathing after birth. Do not outline another's path. Do not try to fix them. Do not hold a neighbor in the grip of your good intention. I hope you will never try to project a thought across town or across oceans. I never give human advice. Why? Because there can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. The moment you seize the reins to drive another soul, you confess 2 powers and deepen the hypnosis of separation. Stand back gently. Let the Father within him do the works, absent from the body, present with the Lord, present, that is, with the one whose knowing of him is perfect and sufficient. In that presence, help appears without trespass, guidance without pressure, healing without pride, and often without your name on it at all. And do you see how this ends? The thirst for another chance, the craving for more tomorrows is the author's hunger, one more draft, one more edit, one more scene to fix what the last scene spoiled. But when life is recognized as God life, and you are content to be the page upon which it writes, the need to return for corrections dissolves. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. The story ceases to chase its tail because the storyteller has stepped out of the center. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Continuity is no longer the string of personal episodes. It is God unbroken, expressing as the simple holiness of this very breath. What does this look like on Monday at 10 o'clock when the meeting turns sharp? The personal will would seize a clever argument, carve a victory, secure a win. Stop. Put the tongue behind the mercy of silence. Inwardly, live thou my life. Wait 30 seconds. Let the heat drain. Let the click or the hint of it come. Then speak or do not. You will find words that do not wound, or a quiet that disarms, or a new timing that appears as a changed appointment rather than a conquered foe. A soft answer turneth away wrath. It wasn't your diplomacy. It was the absence of a second power. What, when a symptom shouts its name in the night, the actor would fight it, fear it, research it until the pulse of dread is the loudest drum in the room. No, no. Do not use thought to knead tissue. Do not try to manipulate a process with mentation. Turn from the body as locality, I am not in the physical, and turn to God as the life that is already whole. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. Rest there, not to get a result, but to be present with the result that is, if a human step is needed, it will be given without panic, without defiance, without idolatry of matter or mind. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Whisper it once, and then let even the whisper fall into knowing. And when supply seems thin, the author starts a campaign of anxious calculations or addresses greed in the language of demonstration. Do not bargain. Do not visualize checks. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, added by law, not by grasping. Now act as love would act. Make the honest call, fulfill the honest duty, share where fear says to clutch, set a just price, release a just debt if spirit nudges. Watch how the atmosphere changes because you have confessed one source only. In my oneness with God, I find my completeness, my safety, my sufficiency. This is inner reorientation from pen to page, from driver to passenger, from claimant to instrument. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. And because this is so, the wheel of repetition has nothing to grip. The end of the cycle is the end of personal authorship. God alone lives, moves, and acts as you. Say it now for protection and for peace. God is the actor. I am merely the instrument. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it until the saying turns into silence and the silence turns into life, doing what only life can do, being itself here as you. You will know the wheel by its ruts. The same argument with new names, the same fear with a fresh headline, the same lack wearing a different invoice. That is the psycho-personal sense repeating itself. Do not despise it, see it. The seeing is mercy. The moment you recognize, here is the old claimant returning for its lines, you can refuse to cast it. Pause. 30 seconds will do. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. Not a location shift, an identity shift. I am not in the physical. I am in God. And better still, God is the I. Deny a second power. A symptom is not a power. A bill is not a power. A temper is not a power. One power only. Then without bargaining. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Be still and know. This is not theater. It is as exact as a traffic law. When you align with the red light, you do not lose time. You gain safety, you gain flow. You are not punished by principle when you stop. You are protected by it. Violate it, and no officer needs to appear. Friction appears because you set yourself crosswise with order. It is the same with spirit. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 is all. Stand in that, and the collisions cease, because the premise of rivalry and panic has been removed. You are not making harmony, you are ceasing to deny it. Let me show you how it looks on the ground. A letter once described a household where quarrels came at the same hour as faithfully as the post. He said, "We know the steps now. The tone tightens. The old injury rises. The verdict is reached by both sides, and the evening is lost." One day before the verdict, he placed his tongue behind the mercy of silence and turned inward. "Father, reveal thyself." He did not project peace at his wife. He did not rehearse arguments. He waited. The click did not arrive as a thrill. It was more like a small door unlatching. Then he heard himself say, not clever, not superior, simply, "I may be wrong." In that sentence, the second power died. A soft answer turneth away wrath. The evening did not become a sermon. It became ordinary kindness. They reported that the hour came and went the next night like a train that had lost the track it had always taken. Another wrote of sleeplessness and a diagnosis that had gathered frightening words. The old habit was research, worry, bargaining with God. No, no. In the night, she sat upright in a chair low enough for her feet to find the floor. She removed her body from thought by comfort, not will. She refused to localize the I. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, nothing more. Not to get sleep, to be present with the sleeper, that is life itself. She did not command a result. She consented to. 1, the next day required a human step, and she took it not in panic, not in defiance. Recovery unfolded in a sequence so natural she would have missed its holiness had she been watching for spectacle. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. She was merely the instrument. Do not come to me for a plan. I never give human advice. I point you to the place of listening. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, the needed word, the needed appointment, the needed restraint, the needed generosity appear. Supply is not wrestled into the room. It is added by law when you refuse to certify a second source. A merchant stopped padding estimates and called it faith. In truth, it was fear. He dropped the padding, kept the just price, shared where fear had told him to clutch, and the very customers he thought would flee became allies. With what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. Consciousness met itself and found it was not poor. And when a knot will not loosen, we are approaching the great solvent forgiveness. Not drama about karma, not excavating lifetimes for stories to polish, simple release of the separate me that keeps a ledger. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven. You have as much right to forgive yourself 70 times 7 as you have to forgive your neighbor. Sit in the same silence, deny a second power, and let the account books burn. The wheel turns on grievance. Remove the axle. Love thy neighbor as thyself, which includes thyself. Then watch how patterns that required your resentment for fuel cannot find firewood. The proof is quiet. The evenings go unspoiled. The nights grow gentle. The ledger grows blank. And in that unremarkable holiness, You know, not because I said it, not because a book proved it, but because life unopposed has written its own verification in the day you are living. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now we come to the not undoing itself. Forgiveness, not as sentiment, not as excusing a harm, but a spiritual recognition. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In that sentence you hear the diagnosis. Ignorance, hypnosis, belief in two powers. Not a wicked person, but a suggestion believed. No person to hate, no person to fear. Error is impersonal suggestion. It has no creator in God, and so it has no law to support it. When I see that, I release the mask and refuse to curse the actor who wore it. Judge not, that ye be not judged. Forgiveness is the refusal to certify a sinner or a sin as a power. It is the sight of one life where two seem to be. It is the end of a second God in our thought. You ask, how does this end the cycle? The wheel turns on grievance. The personal claimant is a bookkeeper. It exists to keep accounts, to collect and to repay, to protest and to avenge. Resentment is its oxygen. The moment you breathe grievance, you have revived a separate me with a case to argue and a future appointment to keep another scene, another life, another turn to balance the books. This is the so-called karma, stripped of its occult costume. With what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again. Consciousness meets its own content. Hold the account and it returns. Release the account and there is nothing to return to. Forgiveness dissolves the identity that demands retribution or repayment because the ledger itself is seen as unreal, a dream book in a dream store. Do not confuse forgiveness with suppression. No. Suppression buries the ledger under the desk. It leaves the business open for tomorrow. Forgiveness closes the account because it recognizes there was no second power to owe and no separate person to pay. How is this practiced? As always, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit. Sit quietly. Comfort the body until you can forget it. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. Deny yourself the luxury of rehearsing the case. Father, reveal thyself. Live thou my life. If the face of the offender rises, or your own face rises with shame, do not argue with it, do not decorate it, do not accuse it. Say inwardly, Father, forgive, for we knew not what we did, we believed a lie of Oneness. Then wait, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Presently the tight cord slackens. The need to be right loosens. Sometimes a tear visits without a speech. That is the click. The knot unties itself when you cease to pull. And self-forgiveness, hear me gently and hear me firmly. You have as much right to forgive yourself 70 times 7 as you have to forgive your neighbor. If you withhold it, you accuse yourself of being a second power, an author apart from God, and you sentence yourself to remake the scene again and again until you are satisfied with your own pen. No. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Condemnation is the currency of the cycle. Mercy is its bankruptcy. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. When you release yourself from the court of personal perfection, the compulsion to repeat your failure vanishes, because the judge, the prisoner, and the sentence were the same false me. I say this to your protection. Do not forgive in order to get health or supply or a brighter next chapter. That is bargaining. That is the old accountant in a new suit. Forgive because God is one and there is no second power to sustain a grievance. Forgive because love is the law of being, and love never keeps score. Love covereth a multitude of sins. When nothing is being held, no debt, no verdict, no identity based on injury, what remains is pure being. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, there is no returned appointment for a self that has been dissolved. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from yesterday, liberty from the next time, liberty from the wheel that had depended on a grievance to turn. So we stand here, not polishing our stories, not revising our enemies, but letting the ledger burn. Father, forgive. Father, reveal thyself. And as the smoke clears, we discover there is nothing missing and no one left out, only life, unopposed being, itself as us. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it once, then let the saying fall away into the silence where the knot has no handhold and the wheel has no axle. Here ends the need to return, because here the separate me is not being returned to. Only one remains. Only one is. What remains when the bookkeeper lays down his pen? Not a blank page, not a chill of nothingness, but presence alive, gentle, self-moving. The end of the cycle is not a clever escape from one scene into another. It is the cessation of identifying the scene as the self. The personal storyline, with its proud titles and sad chapters, is recognized as a costume. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. This is not a funeral for function. It is a birth into fact. I and my Father are one. Life is not many lives struggling to improve. Life is one, revealing itself where the mask has been set down. When I abide here, what meaning has next time? Next time belongs to narrative. Presence belongs to God. The calendar thins because fear of tomorrow thins. Take no thought for the morrow. The question, will I have another chance? Melts into the assurance, God is the only chance and the only life already at hand. In that awareness, the compulsions that drove repetition, grievance, rivalry, penance, find no oxygen. Perfect love casteth out fear. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Continuity is no longer a chain of episodes. It is the unbroken selfhood of God shining as now. Hear this and let it steady you. This is not abandonment of responsibility. It is the fulfillment of responsibility under a higher law than personal will. The instrument does not shirk the note because the music plays. The instrument becomes truer, simpler, more accurate to the score. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Therefore the task is done, sometimes with fewer words, sometimes with a new tenderness, always without the strain of self-authorship. The bill is paid justly, the appointment kept kindly, the correction made humbly, not to improve a character for the next chapter, but because love is the law in this one. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That is not poetry. That is practice. So let the identity be anchored now, not with effort, but with recognition. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. In my oneness with God, I find security. In my oneness with God, I find peace. In my oneness with God, I find joy. In my oneness with God, I find fulfillment. Do you see the quiet reversal? The world hunts for these by extension in time. They are given by realization in presence. There is no bargain in it. There is only being. Be still and know that I am God. And when that stillness ripens to the click, you discover that guidance appears from within. Companionship appears from within. Supply appears from within, added, not seized, because one is all. No, no. We do not end reincarnation by improving the mask, by traveling wiser from one costume to the next. We end it because we cease to swear allegiance to the mask at all. The cycle is the repetition of personal sense identifying life with form, when the personal claimant is unseated and the non-local I is recognized as the life of God, the wheel has nothing to grip. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Not new scenes for the same actor new, because there is no actor separate from the playwright, only the playwright expressing himself as scene and song. We are ready to live this simply. Return to silence. Return to one. Return to love. Not as a vacation, but as a rule. Not as a mood, but as obedience to reality. In a moment I will give you a daily practice, a small door through which great quiet enters. For now, let the heart rest where the story cannot tempt it and the calendar cannot frighten it. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it once. Then let the saying fall away into the knowing, and let the knowing become the living, and let the living be God being God as you. Here the cycle ends, because here there is no cycle only. Life indivisible, infinite, present, and perfectly itself. Here is the daily rule, simple, repeatable, and safe. Knock, wait, and let grace be sufficiency. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. The kingdom of God is within you. You are not chasing a horizon. You are consenting to a presence that is already here. We begin in the morning. Sit where the body can be forgotten by comfort alone, a chair low enough that the feet find the floor. Close the eyes. Let the hands rest wherever no muscle must hold them. There is no occult reason for posture. Only remove the body from thought. Then remember, I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Do not ask for things. Do not bargain for outcome. Knock at the door of your own consciousness with a single password, Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Repeat it softly until the repetition thins into listening. If thoughts pass like trains, let them pass. You are not the station master. Wait in a state of receptivity. Be still and know that I am God. Sometimes the click is clear, like a small door within opening without your hand on it. Sometimes it is only the sense that striving has eased and another mind has taken the helm. Do not time the infinite. 5 minutes, 10, whatever, dissolves the rush and restores identity. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Rise from that chair, not as a person improved, but as an instrument remembered. God is the actor. At midday, when the world is loud and the wheel tries to sell you another turn, make a holy stop. 30 seconds will do. Put the tongue behind the mercy of silence. Withdraw your consent from second powers, one power only. Close the eyes if you can, if not, close them inwardly. Whisper once, Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, and wait. In returning and rest shall ye be saved. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. This is not inefficiency, it is alignment. Like obeying a red light, you are not losing time, you are refusing collision. Presently a word may come, or a release, or only a softening of the forehead. That is enough. Move on under one. In the evening, release the day. Sit as you did in the morning. Lay the ledger on the altar, successes, failures, faces that thrilled you, faces that hurt you. Judge not, that ye be not judged. If a grievance rises, you already know its remedy. Father, forgive, for we knew not what we did. Let the case dissolve in one. If shame rises, extend the same mercy to yourself 70 times 7. Then finish as you began. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. Lay the authorship down. Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Sleep, not as a body in a bed, but as life resting in itself. Do not use this rule to get, use it to consent. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you, added without your clutching. The daily structure is not a leash, it is a doorway. Morning remembers identity. Midday prevents drift. Evening clears the field. Between them, love thy neighbor as thyself in the small, honest acts that leave no bruise and ask no prize. Refuse to outline another's path. I never give human advice, and I hope you will never try to direct a life with thought. Non-interference is the dignity of spirit. The Father within doeth the works. You will discover, almost shyly, that repetition loses its voice. The argument tires of finding no partner. The symptom loses its theater when you deny it divinity. The lack finds itself answered by the law of addition that flows from one source. Not spectacle order, not pride, peace. Pray without ceasing ceases to mean words all day. It means a posture of consent that can be resumed in a breath. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it as you open your eyes. Say it before you answer the phone. Say it once before you sign your name. Then let the saying fall away into knowing, and let knowing become living. So we close, not with triumph, but with gratitude. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always, not because of merit, not because of will, but because I and my Father are one. No fear, no striving, only one life living itself as you. Practice the return until the return is no longer practice, but presence. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, today, tomorrow, without tomorrow, until the one life is consciously lived and the cycle is finished.